that's kind of cynical. I mean, because I'm not sure that all that we have done have necessarily been to the benefit of middle class or wealthy people. So we will get to that.
Tune in to The Point of View this and every Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. as I, Bernard Avile, get the right guests, ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you.
When MBB came, because they were not putting money in the sinking fund.
They were not putting money in the sinking fund.
Yes.
That's why this curve is going up.
The money was going to the sinking fund, but it was not being applied to debt.
I think that there's a lot of apocryphal conspiracy theories around. And it's not different from 5G causes coronavirus, COVID-19 and things like that. So there's been this long-term held belief that somehow there are some people that have planned that they will bust hundreds of thousands of people to come and change Ghanaian electoral outcome. There is no evidence for it. There is absolutely no evidence for it.
I am saying that we have very professional herbalists in this country whose capacity I know because I've tried it. But also there are quack ones within them. And the earlier we weed them out, the better for us.
Remember, The Point of View is live every Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. only on City TV.
The Point of View is powered by Airtel Tigo. Have you heard that Airtel Tigo calls from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. and Airtel Tigo money transfers are now free on new SIMs? Now you know. Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
And you're welcome back to the Voters Diary. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. This afternoon, I'm here with the two gentlemen I usually do this discussion with. I have Selorm Adonoo. He's head of features and articles here at City FM and City TV. Selorm, welcome.
Thank you.
I also have Kojo Boateng. He heads our new media team here at City FM and City TV. Kojo, welcome as well.
Thank you, Vivian.
Okay, so guys, we've been waiting for who will be on the paper in December, how it will, pan out. Yesterday, you guys were wondering who will be at number 1 and number 12. I think after the balloting yesterday, we know what's going to happen. But before I pick your thoughts on that, I want us to go to the EC, where our correspondent Sixtus Dong Ulo filed a report on exactly what panned out yesterday around the ballot and who is at number 1, 2, and the rest.
President Akufo-Addo of the governing New Patriotic Party will go neck to neck with former President John Dramani Mahama of the largest opposition party, the National Democratic Congress, on the 2020 presidential ballot. This is the outcome of the balloting done by the parties on Tuesday. The NDC, prior to the balloting, expressed reservations about the Commission's approach to the exercise.
We are coming to do balloting. The essence of balloting is transparency and remove every element of bias. Michael, what we are saying is that there are 12 political parties. 11 political parties, 1 independent candidate. They are not going to the ballot. But to remove the element of bias, it is just fair that we see how the ballot is prepared in front of us. It's just 1 to 11. It is for this reason why even the main election, the ballot paper, it is provided in the law that political parties provide agents at the printing house.
But the party was satisfied after it picked the second position for its presidential and parliamentary candidates.
We are very happy about the number that we have picked. In actual fact, that was what we were expecting. We came in for 2 and we got 2. God has spoken and it's too sure. The second coming of JM, and you know what it means. When you talk about second coming, we talk about return. And yes, indeed, we are really satisfied. We are really satisfied.
For the NPP, though they would have preferred the number 4 position on the ballot, the number 1 position they secured is equally as significant and relevant.
It makes it very easier because in terms of all spheres of our economy, we are the number one. In terms of infrastructure development, in terms of managing the economy well, in terms of getting international recognition, in terms of everything in this country, Nana Addo has paved the way. He's the number one.
These positions balloted for are significant for the orderly conduct of the polls. A deputy chairperson of the Electoral Commission in charge of operations, Samuel Tete, explains.
Where a candidate withdraws before the printing of the ballot papers, his or her position on the ballot paper shall be occupied by the next parliamentary candidate. This will, however, not apply if the withdrawal involves the last candidate on the ballot paper. 2. Where a presidential candidate exists, but without a parliamentary candidate, the next parliamentary candidate will be shifted upwards. By implication, a political party may be number 2 on the presidential ballot paper, but will be number 1 on the parliamentary ballot paper due to the shift.
With this done, the Electoral Commission is expected to start processes for the printing of the ballot papers. The various political parties participating in the process will be written to, so they can delegate representatives to observe the.
So that's it, guys. We know who is on the ballot now. At least it looks like the people that have been evicted. It doesn't look like, I don't know, but the discussion is still on. Gan is still at the EC trying to get the attention of the commissioner. He's not been able to. He intends to be there till he gets some answers to some.
And the commissioner is not seeing him. The chairperson of the commission is not seeing him.
No, not yet. Goodness. So we have that, and others who are threatening to go to court and all that. But as it stands now, 1 to 12. We know who is standing where. And interesting enough, the 2 major political parties are number 1 and number 2. Kojo
very
and
interesting.
Selorm.
You know, yesterday when we were wrapping up, I said that we really need to know this so that we'll know what the musicians will do with this.
Yeah.
And right after the numbers came, I saw people sharing Kobnes, a Stroho song from 2013. Already, he was sharing it to push the Stroho agenda for the incumbent, that is the MPP. And then I also saw the NDC people also releasing artworks, too sure, too direct, number 2 means second chance. So they are all trying to use the numbers to make their point. And the other people also who are reading meanings into the numbers, that usually if you are number 1, it means you will not win, you may lose. And so many things coming out. So let's just show people the numbers again as came up yesterday at the EC. So Nana Akufo-Addo is at number 1. That's the NPP, they are number 1. So that's it. Then John Dramani Mahama, NDC is at number 2. Christian Kobna Andrews, Gum, is at number 3.
Got to 3, okay.
And Ivor Kobna Green Street, CPP, is at number 4. Madam Ukia Donko is at number 5. Henry Herbert Latte, GCPP, is at number 6. Hassan Ayariga is at number 7. Kofi Apalu is at number 8. David Apasra is at number 9. That is PNC. Bridget Akusia Jogbanuku is at number 10. And I've also seen an artwork from a camp. Number 10 means the maestro. Abedi Pele, the maestro, the schemer, the skillful. And, yes, and she says that yes, she's going in and she's going to win. Number 10, she will dazzle her other opponent. It would be nice
if we have a woman as the president.
But look at this. So 2 women back to back. Bridget at number 10. Nana Kunedu Ajumaro at number 11, and the independent candidate is at number 12.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, Alfred Desidu Walker. I saw his artwork in one of the newspapers.
Yes.
And
today. Then till then I hadn't seen nothing
because
from him.
Now he knows for sure he's running.
Now he's a proper
now he can spend.
So that's the
sometimes
strategy.
when you are not too sure and you put money in the thing and it doesn't work out.
Yeah. And even yesterday he called the presser right after. I think during the day, and I was like, okay.
So I think he's trying to make is trying to step into the arena proper now. So we saw a press conference yesterday. He's begun talking because for a lot of people, they've never seen him, they've never heard him, and there's very little on him even on the internet. So I think he realizes that, and maybe he knows he's fighting from behind, and so he had to speed up. So today he put out a huge advert. I mean, he got a whole page. in the daily graphic, you know, and I think that the message was quite interesting. That all along, you know, you've been doing the same thing. That the message was around the fact that you've been doing the same thing all along, and it's always been between the NDC and the NPP. So it is time to try something different. And then he was offering himself as the person to lead that change, an independent Ghana, you know. So I think if he plays it well, maybe he will get a few more votes. But yes, to the balloting, interesting that the NDC and NPP are one after the other on the ballot. So what it means for a lot of people is that you can just concentrate on the top two and maybe forget about the rest. Because when you look at the data from is it from 1996 or 2000, you realize that between the two parties, they command between 97 to 98% of the total vote cast. And so that really is the issue. And also, between the two of them, I don't know whether to say there'll be a lot of spot ballots, I don't know. Because they are just back to back. So you're voting for one, or if you just don't like any of them, you may want to put it in the middle, and that's a spot ballot. Let's see how it plays out. But it's just interesting that Nana Addo is number one and John Mahama is number two. We were thinking that, you know, if any of the two found themselves in the middle somewhere, that could be a bit difficult for their supporters or people who want to vote for them to locate. But given as it is, one or two, I mean, very easy to locate. So that's fine for them. And indeed, they've started putting the marketing things around it. Number one being number one in everything. Number one is always a winner. Number two, well, we've been saying rescue mission, the return of Mahama, the second coming of Mahama, etc. So that is what it is. And God, indeed, I heard Otokuno, he said they expected to pick two, and they picked two. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I mean, that's
what protesting during the
but
day.
You see, the protest was very interesting to me, and for me, it tells us again how much of a mistrust exists between the EC and some of the parties, because even balloting could generate such, you know, debate and such protest. So the EC too, perhaps, I don't know how it's been done in the past, but if his allegations are anything to go by, the EC wrote on the papers from the offices and brought them, whilst he was saying that he could even give them A4 sheets. You write 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 12, tear it, fold them, and put them in for everybody to see. I don't know how it's been done in the past, but I think once the mistrust is increasing or is going up, the EC must also begin to look at ways of working to diffuse that mistrust, because it's not good. What happened yesterday was actually needless. And indeed, if the EC wrote the numbers from the offices and brought them, really nothing wrong with that. But given the circumstances we find ourselves in, I think they could have written it there for everybody to see. So that, and at some point, I think they were bantering himself and the MPP guy, I think John Boydu, that they intended to pick a particular one, but somebody picked it before. I mean, a whole lot, very unnecessary, you know.
So that's it, guys, on the balloting. So we'll put it on the screen again from 1 to 12, and so December 7th, we'll see how it goes. But guys, let's return to our discussion prior to this. I think on Monday, we started looking at the various regions again. We started with the central region. So we'll continue with the central region, and as the days go, of course, we'll see what happens, and we'll fill viewers in on other issues. So Kojo, give us an idea of the central region as it stands and the trends that we have there.
Well, the central region, a lot of us know it to be the first capital of the country, the first capital of Ghana. So that's a bit about the central region. The people there are the Fantis, so we can say that is the capital of the Fanti group of the republic. Now, central region is seen to be a very important region in the sense that it's a swing region. Whoever wins the general elections wins central region, or whoever wins central region wins the general election, and that's the trend we've seen since 1992. Now, if you look at the region, so this chart we are showing right now is the constituencies and districts in Ghana. Central region has 22 districts and 23 constituencies. Okay. 22 districts and 23 constituencies. Ashanti has the most constituencies of 47. 47, yeah. Then you come to Greater Accra region, 34. Then you go to Eastern, 33. Then you come to the Central, and you go to the other regions. So it's a key constituency when it comes to the numbers. Now, since the year 2000, Central region's voter population figures have been increasing. For example, in the year 2000, Central region was the 8th populous region when it comes to the voter numbers, right? Now, in 2004, it went up to the 7th populous region when it comes to voter numbers. I'll be sharing the actual numbers with you. Just want people to know how Central region has grown over the years. 2008, they remained at 7th. 2012, they remained at 7th. 2016, they remained at 7th. And then 2019, when we compile the voters register for the district assembly elections, they rose to 5th. The population really increased. Now, the latest data from the EC on the voter population shows that Central region is the 6th. So Greater Accra region has the most registered voters, followed by Ashanti region at number 2, Eastern region number 3, Northern region number 4, and Eastern region has maintained their position since the year 2000. Northern region number 4, Western region number 5, Central region number 6. Now, Northern region here is Savannah, Northern, Northeast, not just the Northern region as a standalone. Now, if you want to go deep into the elections when it comes to Central region, for example, in
can you give us the numbers of the top before you do you go back?
The numbers of the...
I'm drinking the soup from the fufu, around the fufu.
I wanted to focus on the Central region, but if you want us to look at the other regions...
You know, you said it's number 5, and so I wanted to see the Greater Accra, the voter population, all the way to 5 to see the figures.
So the voter population, as you can see, Greater Accra has 3.4 million, 3.466.
This is from the last
This is the latest, the 2020, right?
Provisional.
Yes, provisional. Ashanti has 2.98. Okay. Northern, Central, Eastern, Western, they are all hovering around the same numbers. So as you can see, they are together here. So I can just pull the individual numbers for you. For example, Western region is 1.562 million. Central region is 1.547 million. You can check out the Eastern region as well, 1.59 million. So they're all hovering around the same numbers. The 3 northern regions combined also is around 1.593 million, right? And then you can check out the voter region and the other regions at the bottom. So Upper West is at the bottom, Upper East is last but 1, and voter is last but 2. And the population of the voter is 1.2. So voter, if you combine Upper East, Upper West, that's when you get close to the voter. So voter is more popular than those 2 regions. And so that's the figure. So let's show you how the voter population, voting trends and turnout has been for the Central region since the year 2000. In the year 2000, voter population was 870,000. The number of voters who turned out to vote was 556,000. That's the valid votes. So turnout recorded for the Central region was 64% for the year 2000. If you move to the year 2004, voter population 857,000. So it didn't really change much, right? But the number of valid votes went up 723,000, and turnout was 84%. That's for the year 2004. Now you come to the year 2008, voter population went up to 1.02 million. The voters, it dropped slightly to 705,000, and turnout dropped to 69%. And then the year 2012, voter population increased to 1.2. Number of voters also increased to 971,000, and then turnout increased to 79,000. And then you check 2016, voter population increased to 1.4 million. But the valid votes didn't increase.
Yeah.
It dropped slightly to 9,000, and the turnout also dropped to 68. So 2020 voter population is 1.54 million. We don't have the number of valid votes yet. We don't have the turnout yet, but definitely we are going to have them.
But it'll be interesting to know.
So this is the population chart. This is how the population has increased since the year 2000. So 2000, it decreased slightly in 2004 and has been increasing since. If you check the voters as well, 2000, it increased in 2004, decreased slightly in 2008, increased in 2012, and then decreased slightly in 2016. So 2012 was when they recorded the highest number of valid votes in the central region. Now the turnout, 2004 is when they recorded the highest turnout. Even though the numbers were not that big, the ratio of valid votes to the number of the people on the voter roll was that high. So this is how the turnout has been.
It'll be interesting to know what led to the times we had a drop in turnout.
Yeah.
Especially during the period where the numbers went up. Why the turn-up wasn't good, like.
So if you check the map, for example, in 1992, NDC won Central Region. Let me start from the year 2000. The year 2000 turnout was relatively great because in the year 2000 there was a push for change, right?
Yeah.
And Kasoa was on the ballot for MPP, so people went out there to vote. So if you look at the year 2000, Central Region NPP won, and the year 2000 turnout was relatively okay, right? It's 64% as compared to the previous year. And then 2004, a lot more people went to vote to maintain former President Kasoa. So we got a lot more people voting. So turnout was the highest when it comes to the percentage. And then 2008, it dropped. 2008 was when Atta Mills ran against Nana Adonoo. Maybe Selorm can give us why it dropped, but 2008 turnout dropped slightly to 69%, and then 2012 we went out. We can really have time to interrogate the various issues that led to these things at a later date. But this is how Central Region has voted between 2012 and 2016. We are sharing 2012 and 2016 data because John Mahama ran against Nana Akufo-Addo in 2012, and they are running again this year. So their peers, they went to parliament same year, they are running, they ran in 2012, they are running in 2016. So there's a bit of something to compare there between the two candidates. So the areas shaded dark green are areas where the NDC won strongly, which means that the margin they used to win was about 10% of the voter population. If you see light green, NDC won, but it wasn't convincing. It was weak. It was below 10%. The margin was below 10% of the voter population. Now the light blue is where NPP won, and the margin was above 10% of the registered voter population. And the light blue is where the margin was below 10%. So strong blue or the dark blue is where margin for NPP was about 10%. Light blue was where margin for NPP was below 10%. And if you look at this data very well, you can conclude that using 2012 and 2016 data, that Ekunfi, Ebra Asebu Kwamankese, and Commander Edna Eguafo Abrim district are for the NDC, because NDC won those constituencies presidential for 2012. In fact, 2012, they won them, and then 2016, 2012, they won them convincingly with over 20% of the margin. And then 2016, they won only Ekunfi with over 10%. The rest, they won weekly, but at least we see a trend that they won the previous election year, they've won this year. Now, if you go down to the MPP, these are the constituencies they won in 2012 and they won again in 2016. You see Upper Dentra East, they won that. Upper Dentra West, they won that. Asin South, they won that. Asin Central, they won that. Ewutu Senya East, Aguna East, and Heman Lower Dentra. They won those constituencies in 2012 and they maintained them in 2016. And for constituencies like Asin, Ewutu Senya East, Asin Central, Aguna West, Heman Lower Dentra, they won them convincingly with over 10% of the margin being won by the MPP. So this is really how the region has been. If you look at the chart, really, there are a lot of light green and light blue constituencies, meaning the differences in those constituencies are not really big. So any party that does their homework very well could snatch them. For example, a constituency like Ajumako, Enyan, Esiam, the difference is only 1.43%. And in that constituency, NDC won parliamentary, NPP won presidential. So it was a skirt and blouse constituency. And the difference really for presidential was 1.43. A constituency like Aguna East, 5.84. The previous year, NDC won was 5.80. This 2016, NPP won 5.84. So you see the differences.
So these key constituencies that can push any party out, I think 13 of them or so. How does it play out over there for a party, you know, ending up a winner or loser? So, but hang on with that answer, and I'll take a quick break. When I come back, we'll look at that. But I want you to be part of the conversation. If you live in that region or you'll be voting in that region, send us a message via Facebook or Twitter. Remember to add the hashtag Voters Diary, or you can send us a message via WhatsApp. The numbers are currently on your screen. When we come back, we'll take your comments and also see the dynamics around these 13 key constituencies in the central region that can make or break a political party. We'll be right back.
Grandma really knows how to take care of her family. Now, it's my turn. And like her, I only want the freshest food. I'm glad there's Samsung Twin Cooling Refrigerator, which retains 70% humidity, extending freshness up to 2 times longer. And with extended freshness, I can extend my care for my family.
So welcome back to the Voters Diary. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. I'm here with Kojo, Akoto, Boateng, as well as Selorm, Adonoo. We're looking at the central region, a very important region which usually can tell if a party is winning or losing for the elections based on how they vote. And this year, we'll see how that pans out over in that region. But we're looking at 13 key constituencies that usually can make or break any political party. It can swing to the MPP or the NDC, the 2 major political parties. So, Kojo, these 13, I mean, over the period, from what you've been telling us over the days, it can go either way. But what are the dynamics around that pushes, you know, the people to vote for A or B?
It's usually the work they do, the parties do, the people they are putting forth, the message they carry across, and to some extent, how well the parties do propaganda in certain instances. Because we've seen in instances where in certain constituencies, stories were told that somebody was behind the death of somebody.
Yeah.
We've seen in instances where in certain places, different stories. So it's about the work they do and the people they put forth, and usually at the parliamentary level, the confusion that happens when they go for the parliamentary primaries as well. So how strong the person is, how relatable the person is, how they throw money also into the system. Yes, that's also a key thing. In the political campaign season, if you spend right and you get the right people to also push for you, you'll get it. So let's run through some of the constituencies, for example. In 2016, right? Ebura Asebu Kwamankese, NDC won, but it was a weak win with 1.21% of the margin, right? But in 2012, NDC won, and they won strongly with 23%. But going into 2020, NDC says they are going to win, NPP says they are going to win. But if you look at this seat, the historical 2012-2016, something tells you in 2016 something went wrong. Because if in 2012 NDC won that constituency with 23% of the margin, and in 2016 only 1.12%, it means something went wrong.
Do we know what went wrong for 2016?
Well, a lot of things. I mean, generally in the central region, for example. So let's take it this way. I mean, the central region is quite interesting in many respects. So there are the hinterland constituency, there are the coastal constituencies as well. And because they are coastal, a lot of them are farmers. So what I've done is try to, so let's see, there are 2 Agona seats, so Gona East, Agona West. There are 3 Asin seats, Asin Central, Asin South, and Asin North. There's Awutu Senya, 2 of them. So we have West and East. We have Cape Coast, we have 2 of them, North and South, Goma, East, West, and Central. Upper Dentura, we have East and West, and we have what used to be the Trifu Heman Lower Dentura, which has now been split into 3 constituencies. The Trifu Eti Mokwa constituency, the Lower Heman Dentura constituency, and the Upper Heman Dentura constituency. When you look at how a lot of these constituencies behave, a lot of what they do sometimes is attributable to the region they share boundaries with. So when you look at the Upper Dentura, you look at the Upper Dentura constituency, you look at the Asin constituency. Generally, because they share boundaries with the Ashanti region to the north, they kind of behave like how the Ashanti region behaves. So these areas often vote MPP. Indeed, there's a discussion about Asin North. Asin North also shares boundary with the Ashanti region. It's still an MPP area, but the margin the MPP wins with is not as much as what happens in Central and South. It is because that area is particularly populated, or we have a lot of settlers in that region. So let me just take you to some of the data or the figures from 2012 and 2016. So Asin North, for example, in 2012, the margin between the 2 parties was 2,946. In 2016, the margin was 1,877. And that means that so MPP won it. That means that if the NDC pushes a bit, it's likely they can win it. And if you listen to NDC executives from the east, from the central region, they'll tell you one of the seats they hope they can win is the Asin North, and that is the reason. However, when you look at the Asin Central and Asin South, these are, a more blue or a bluer MPP, winning constituencies, if there's any phrase like that. In 2016, the margin or the difference between the NDC and MPP was 8,349. In Asin South, it was 10,486. So, clearly you see that this is a far departure from the 1,877 for the Asin North area. And the reason for that is that the Asin North area has a lot more, settlers in that area. So it makes it easy for the NDC, or a lot of those settlers, historically tend to vote along the lines of the NDC. The Trifu Atimokwa constituency was one of the constituencies created after 2004 or so. And it used to be part of the Trifu Himan Lower Dentura constituency. That constituency was split into 3. The Trifu Atimokwa has been won by the NDC a few times. Also because it has a number of settlers there, and it also shares boundary with a part of the western region, which will normally want to go the NDC line. That is how they behave generally. But what is quite interesting for me is that for a lot of the constituencies in the central region, so now getting back to the discussion, a lot of them, when you look at the data from 2016, the difference between the 2 parties for about 13 of them was less than 10%. Less than 10%. And these were seats or areas that the NDC had won, most of the times. But when you look at the seats which are traditionally MPP, the difference has been beyond 10%, which means that it is more like the MPP, the party MPP, is more likely to hold on to its constituencies generally than the NDC, because the NDC seats have, to a large extent, been taken over by the MPP, and the difference really hasn't been much. They tend to sway a lot. A lot of them also are the coastal constituencies. We have about 9 or 10 coastal constituencies in the central region. The issues there, you know, are basically premix, you know. And so when you promise them that you will be able to handle the premix issue better, or you're able to punch holes into how the administration of the day handles the premix issues, then they can go along with you. And because they are all along the coast, it so plays out that once one of them decides to change
to do ABC,
by whatever means, it runs through like a thread to the end.
Kind of like the Greater Accra side.
Yes, and indeed, that particular phenomenon spreads towards the Greater Accra throughout the coast. And that is a major determinant. And the coast also holds a lot of the population. So once you're able to sweep the coast, then your job as a party winning the region is
so let's run through the coast. I can see Kojo pulling out.
So if you move from the Greater Accra region and you get to the Wutu-Senya area, you have coastal dwellers in that particular area. You get to the Gomwa area, you have coastal dwellers. You get to the Mfansiman area, you have coastal dwellers. You go to Cape Coast. Cape Coast South is primarily a coastal constituency, right? And then you go to the Commander Edina Eguafo Ebrem constituency. That's also coastal. And one thing you realize is that the constituencies along the coast also have big populations. If you look at Wutu-Senya, along the coast, close to Greater Accra, very, very populated. The Kasoa area, the population is big. You go to Winneba area, they have a big population as well. You go to Elmina and the Commander area, the Cape Coast and Mfansiman area, they also have big populations. Then you get into the middle part. That's where you don't see the huge populations, right? And then you go to the northern areas. You also see a bit of a big population in that particular area. So that gives you a picture of, if you do your homework right in those areas, you'll get the votes. For example, the most populous constituency in the central region is this area, the Kasoa area, Wutu-Senya. So if you would permit me to zoom in to the area, see how well built the area is.
Is it?
Yes, the area is very, very urbanized. Part of the Greater Accra metropolitan area. Population is huge. Businesses, housing,
a huge market.
Schools, markets. So it's really huge. And the area, as at 2016, had 59,000 registered voters. It was the most populous.
59,000.
Yes, not 59,000 valid votes.
Valid votes.
59,000 valid votes. I'm doing all my analysis based on valid votes.
Right.
Now, followed by Mfansiman, which is also along the coast.
The Mfansiman?
Yes. Mfansiman also along the coast. So if I bring you in here, we'll be getting close to the Mfansiman area. Yes.
So Mfansiman also a very key constituency.
Very, very key. People are looking forward to that. Yesterday, Mrs. Hayford filed her, submitted her forms.
Nomination
and so this is the Mfansiman area.
Okay.
Also very well built. Mankesim, Sopon, Komanse, all these towns together, right? It's next to Wutu-Senya when it comes to population. Then you go to the Commander Edina Eguafo Ebrem district, the KEEA area, where Indum used to be a powerhouse. I'm saying Indum used to be a powerhouse because in 2016, NDC's votes suffered because Indum got a lot of votes in that particular area.
That's where it's from,
Yes,
right?
That's where he's from. So this is the KEEA area. So as the map suggests, you see a lot of brown patches, meaning built-up areas, right? And some green areas. And this area has come up in the news for all sorts of reasons, including the Commander Sugar Factory and the Commander Sugar industry. So this is the Commander area. Huge area. A lot of things happen in that particular area with a big population. Then you go to the Aguna West area. That is Aguna Swedro, which is also the fourth when it comes to total valid votes for 2016. Agona Swedro, very big town. I think that's where Kwakese is from, right?
Okay.
Yes, and it's also, they have also a very big population. So if you are able to target these areas very well, you'll be able to do your work and get the votes and then maintain your position. So this is Ekumfi. Ekumfi 2012 voted NDC, 2016 voted NDC, but would they vote NDC in 2020?
The
Eku Juice.
Yes, Eku Juice, and hometown of one of their sons,
Professor Mills.
Professor Mills.
So
it looks like, I mean,
will people vote for Eku Juice and industrialization or the memory of Professor Mills?
No, indeed, and so they have Eku Juice or Kofi Juice, and they also have one of Mohammed's Community Day Senior High School. So it is actually a test case to see which of the two.
And they're enjoying free senior high school.
They are enjoying
Community Day Senior High School.
Yes, so they are enjoying free senior high school, free SHS with the community senior high school built by Mahama, and there are people are getting jobs to do because the Nanado administration is managed to put one of the 1D1F facilities
Indeed,
there.
when I visited that factory, you know, it's a fishing community like you guys were saying, and they've had a lot of issues with the light fishing and all that. So majority of the men who are fishermen have abandoned the trade because they don't make money anymore. They don't get the premix for, and a lot of them have gone into the farming now and the confitting because the factory has set up a sort of a scheme where you can own a bit, a bit of the
scheme. They buy directly from the farmers.
So that's an interesting one to look at.
Very interesting one to look at.
And their population, Selorm, if you would permit me, 2016, they had the lowest total valid votes in the region of 24,249. And total voter population, total voters who went out to vote was 24,818. And there was 569 rejected ballots. The difference between NDC and NPP was 3,015. So will the political parties concentrate on Ekumfi, or they may go down to the constituencies that have the bigger numbers? For example, the constituencies with the big numbers, if you take out Commander Edna Iguafo, which NDC won, almost all of them were won by the NPP. So Commander was won by NDC. Ebra Asebu Kwamankesi was won by NDC and was a weak win. You understand? Commander also a weak win. All the others had NPP winning with some good numbers. And look, from Gomoa East, which is 35,000, all the way to Ewutu-Senya, which is 59,000. The rest below Gomoa East are 29,000 to 24,000. So as the politicians do the numbers, they would ask themselves, should we go to the areas where we are strong, where we want to push more, or should we concentrate our energies in places like Ekumfi, where it's likely we may not win, especially for the NPP, and the numbers are also not that big. So those are questions they will seek answers to.
Let's look at Ewutu-Senya, which a couple of months back was in the news over the two major political parties having issues to do the registration. In fact, there were gunshots, there was burning of property and all that. But over there, I mean, what should the major political parties be doing to pull? Because it's a very, urbanized area as well. So you can say
I think that there are various kinds of people in that area. So it's getting urbanized. So some young people who have good disposable incomes, I don't want to say middle class people, but are moving to the area because, Accra is expanding as it seems. So a lot of people in Accra, live in Kasoa, they buy land in Kasoa, build in Kasoa, and they come to work in Accra. So three main issues there. One, crime. Number two, traffic. And three, unemployment. Of course, there's a big market there.
And security.
Yeah, so that's crime, security.
Did you mention traffic?
Yes,
I mentioned traffic. So crime, stroke security, employment. So we can argue that a lot of the crime there is due to the fact that a lot of the young people there are jobless. They have nothing seriously to do. They have no serious engagement, you know.
And also because the place is very big, develop a lot of developing areas, provision of state security assets in the area is not as entrenched in a lot of the places. I drive through that constituency a lot, sometimes going all the way, just exploring. And you see lots of new areas developing, requiring roads, requiring police checkpoints, water access, and all those things. So it's a Genesis chapter 1 kind of city developing. It was without form, and it's now taking form.
Exactly the case. So what the parties really should do is, or maybe the constituency may tilt more. It's an MPP constituency as we speak, but it may tilt more towards a party that promises them, you know, a very workable plan to improve their security and reduce crime in the area. A party that can promise them or tell them how it hopes to deal with the traffic situation in the area. A party that can give them a good plan about employment. If any party is able to put these three together and convince the people of its plan, it is likely that a lot of the people in the area will go towards this particular party. This particular party. In fact, when you mention Kasoa, the two main things that jump at you are traffic and crime, and that really is not a good image for that part of that side of town to have. And so the issues around how and the MP there is Hawa Kumsi. The issues around her, the event she got herself, the incident where she pulled a gun and shot, delivered a warning shot, etc. You know, of course, but I'm just saying that the nature of that area was such that it could allow that easily. It doesn't mean in other places people don't give gunshots, etc. But the nature of that area, you can say it's a bit chaotic because there's a market there, there's crime, traffic situation, the population, as Kojo rightly said, a lot of people are there. So when you put all these together, coupled with the fact there's no proper planning there, it doesn't paint a good picture about the place at all.
Okay. Kojo?
Yes, and let's look at the numbers for the Utusenya East area. In 2012, NDC got 28,000, right? 28,000, forgive me, let me just look at the data, yes. So in 2012, NPP won with 3.80% of the margins, right? And then in 2016, they increased that to 14.59%. Okay. So from 3.8 to 14.59. So it moved from it moved from a constituency they won, which was a bit weak, to a strong constituency. A lot of issues have happened over
That was in 2016.
Yes, that was in 2016. A lot of issues have happened over the course of that particular period. But at the moment, it's a strong seat for the NPP based on the numbers. Now, during the voter registration period, a lot of things happened. Remember the NDC parliamentary candidate, the lady, she also used that opportunity to be seen and felt nationwide, granting interviews across various media platforms and also going to homes to convince people to step out there to vote. Their main issues in the constituencies have not changed. Like Selorm mentioned, there's a big need to deal with the traffic situation in the area. There's a big need to fix the housing issues in the area. There's a big need for employment in that particular area as well. And so if you look at what has happened, NDC could go in to say that we gave you the Kasoa interchange, right? But people will say, well, it was coming with the Kasoa polyclinic, which was not operationalized on time. And then NPP will go and say, well, we gave you a minister for special development initiatives. And then people will say, but why didn't you immediately fix our hospital when you came into office, even though you gave us a minister? NPP will say, we've brought you development. The people will ask, we were dealing with traffic. You've come and we are still dealing with the traffic. And in fact, when it rains, sand from the Wager Mountains block our roads. And it's been 4 years, we've not seen any. So their issues still persist. Even though over the past 10 years, they've seen a lot of road infrastructure, they've seen a lot of extension of electricity, they've seen some improvement in the, not some improvement, a lot of improvement in the commerce of the area. Over the past 10 years too, it's moved from an almost very rural area into a big metropolitan area. I call it a metropolitan area because it's part of the Greater Accra metropolitan area, and it breathes and drinks and sleeps with Greater Accra region. So it's grown. Problems have been amplified. Problems have increased, but problems have not been solved at the rate at which the people want the problem solved. So it's a strong seat for the MPP, but will the MPP retain it due to these factors? Okay. And does Hawa give the people the confidence that you are representing us in Parliament and you are representing us right? Can Hawa add on to Nana Akufo-Addo's gains in 2016? That's also a good question that can be asked. Infantsiman population.
Another big one. That's the second, right?
Yes, second. Very big. If you look at Infantsiman over the years, let me just quickly pull the data for Infantsiman for you to see how the voting has gone. Basically, Infantsiman in 2012, NDC won. It was strong, 11.8%. Then in 2016, NPP won, weak, 4.56%. So at the moment, you cannot say it's a strong seat for the NPP. And with the things that have happened, will people vote for the NPP based on sympathy votes?
Yes, seeing a sympathy vote kind of situation in that constituency. And yesterday, actually, you know, the widow of Hayford spoke, and I think she had quite some energy.
The Trumpies of
she had a lot of them, and I was like, okay. No, I mean, it makes sense now, the selection and all that.
The selection is wipe the tears off her eyes. Yes. And so it appears she's battle ready.
I wish I can pull that video if I can. If I can, my producers, if you can, please pull that video. We'll wrap up the show with a video. But will we be seeing a simple, that seat, Stephen Asamoah Boateng has had that seat. Thomas Aquinas has had that seat,
and then Hayford.
Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, the difference between the NDC, I mean, Hayford and NDC's James Eswan was less than, or just barely 700. So just a few votes difference. However, in the presidential, Nana Akufo-Addo made 28,267 votes against John Mohammed's 25,679, which means that the NDC candidate, if you like, was a little more popular than the NDC presidential candidate, and did so well to bridge the gap and almost won it. Just that it was shy of it by some 700 votes. What this means is that, of course, it was held by Aquinas before this gentleman came in. Any party that works a bit harder in that constituency will win it. And whether the death of Hayford and the manner in which it died will bring anything to the table, we wait to see. Like I said the last time, the fact of the wife representing him representing the party or succeeding him could play either ways. People will say it is not a family thing. It's not a husband and wife thing that when you die, your wife will succeed you. And so because of that, they won't want to vote for her. Others will say, well, it was the husband who was on the ticket. So why do you want to deny the widow this as well? They'll go ahead and vote for it. But it was quite a bold decision, given that this is a very swing seat, for the lady to leave her very secure job as a police ASP to try this gamble. I think she should have a lot of courage, you know, even in the present circumstances, to be able to do this. It's a police ASP, very secure job. I mean, job security, super. Now you come to the turbulent arena of politics, to an area that you are not actually sure what will happen. We really wait to see how that pans out. But that is like one of the typical fancy towns, and indeed, the capital of that town or that constituency is Selorm, and Selorm has been key in Ghana's political history. The CPP, UGCC, etc. Selorm has been very key. and they have quite some oil there too. I mean, not a lot, but they've been drilling oil for quite some time.
Oil fields.
Yes, even though it's not so much in commercial quantity, but
it's come with problems.
Of course,
it's come with its problems.
Yes, it's come with its problems. So okay, so Kojo, let's guys, let's wrap up with the last biggest constituency.
I think we should do Ajumako in
Okay, and then we're done with Central. Okay, now, what's the story there?
Ajumako is interesting. So 2016, Akufo-Addo won Ajumako presidential, and Ato won Ajumako parliamentary. So very, very interesting constituency. If you look at Ajumako, in 2016, NDC won. 2012, NDC won presidential. It was just 6.70% of the margin. The margin was 6.70% of the total valid vote, which didn't make it a strong constituency for the NDC. Then 2016, Ato wins parliamentary, but Nana Akufo-Addo wins presidential with also a very weak win, 1.43%. In fact, is the constituency in the region with the weakest win percentage for the winner. And there's Dr. Rashid, Dr. Ato going head to head. Rashid is a young man who has crisscrossed the whole constituency. Ato is also a young man who has been there and is the incumbent. So people are really looking out for this voter registration exercise. There were issues that came up, and so it's about one of the hottest constituencies that's going to be contested in the central region.
And the character of Ato and Rashid will play out big time. And just so we know, that was a constituency where, Isaac Ejumadi was MP of, former Central Regional Minister, a key organizer of the party, in his time. It's personal.
So we'll see how that constituency pans out come December 7th. But thank you guys for joining me, Kojo Akoto Boateng, as well as Selorm Adonoo. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. Thank you too for watching us. Goodbye.